First, I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Again, we do these every Monday from 7 to 8 o'clock p.m. If this is your first time joining Career Innovations, thank you. These workshops are recorded. I went ahead and uploaded all the workshops that we've done in the past up to our YouTube channel. It's Career Innovations, all one word. There's no space. If you type that in, you'll actually get our YouTube channel, and every single workshop that we've done for the past year or so have been uploaded to our channel. So if it's something that you missed, can't make a workshop live, definitely check us out on our YouTube channel. Depending on how you logged into the platform, you can ask questions one or two ways. You can raise your hand, I can unmute your line, and you can verbally ask your question. If you choose not to actually verbally ask your question, you can type your question in the chat bar below. First things first, many people that do join us may not know who Career Innovations, who we are. So I like to usually start off with about a 30-second overview with that. I'm Bridget Bagg, and I'm actually the founder of Career Innovations as well as the director of staffing and recruiting. Career Innovations in a nutshell is an executive search firm. We were launched in 2007. We are a referral-based firm. We actually base our firm on referrals. We find innovative technology and tools to locate top talent. And again, most of the contacts and most of the leads that we do get are people within our network. Some of the things that we do in addition to staffing and recruiting, we do job seeker training, which you're attending today. We do resume writing and editing. We also do career coaching, market research that can be for an employer or a job seeker, compensation benchmarking, and referral and retention workshops. I like to start off each workshop with a quote. Today's quote is, "There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist or to accept the responsibility for changing them." And this fits pretty much perfectly with our theme about knowing your professional future. Seeing what you can do about where you are today, whether you're unemployed, whether you're gainfully employed, been recently laid off. There's something that you can do now that can actually affect what you're going to, the results and the opportunities that you're going to bring to yourself in the future. So we're going to expand on that. We're going to first touch base on some of the questions that were asked. One of the questions that were asked prior to the workshop was, what is the most successful way to find a job out of state? For someone that probably are in a situation that they may have exhausted all their resources in state. Maybe they are in a particular area where what they do is not something that's in demand, or they may be wanting to relocate for other personal reasons. Maybe they want to be closer to family, or maybe they want to be in a particular state or city where, their skill set is in demand. The first thing I have, as you can see on here, is you want to start building your network out of state. So wherever you're trying to go, you want to make sure that you're trying to start to reach out to people in that area that you can start reaching out to, that you can build some type of network with. So you want to start reaching out to employers, decision makers, anyone that may have some type of insight in the industry that you're in that can potentially be a contact. Let them know your situation. Let them know if you apply to jobs in that particular demographic, and you're available to relocate. Another thing that you want to look at, is your solution worth relocating? And if you've been someone that's been following any of my workshops, you know that I'm a very solution-oriented person. That's the first thing I ask people when they're applying to a job, or they're trying to get that interview, or they're trying to network with that potential decision maker, is, what is your solution? And once you understand your solution, you want to know, is your solution worth relocating? There are certain jobs that companies aren't willing to relocate. Hey, we're going to look for local candidates. And there are other jobs that may be more in demand, may have a actual consequence if that particular position isn't filled, that they may have to look outside their local network to find that talent. That is where that solution may be worth relocating. So you're going to have to determine, when you're reaching out to these decision makers and you're pretty much selling yourself or selling your solution. Is this something that the organization is going to invest in to get you there and to be a part of their team? So you want to make sure that your solution is really worth relocating. And if you have a solution that's not worth relocating, what I mean by that, may not be in demand, maybe, there's companies out there, yeah, we're hiring for this job, but it's not something that's crucial. It's not something that, if we don't get it filled, we're going to lose money. At the end of the day, it's not an urgent position. If you're in that category that, what I do is not something that's urgent, that I don't see an employer paying me to relocate to do this, you're going to also have to look to see, okay, how am I going to get down there? What opportunities can I place within my network in this new location that would get me down there? This is when the next option should be coming into play. You want to start setting up appointments. And by that, you want to be able to do your homework on the organization, know what the organization's needs are, what problems they're trying to solve, and set up an appointment to talk to someone in that organization that can make that call. Whether or not they relocate you or not, are you willing to move without relocation? That's something that you're going to ask yourself. And that really is an economic question. Can you afford to move right now? Do you have other things that you have to tie up loose ends before you leave? As far as, do you own a home? Would you have to sell it? Do you have children that are currently in school that will have to look at the different schools and get them enrolled? So there's a lot of factors involved besides just starting a new job at a new location. So you want to make sure that if a company is not willing to relocate you, are you willing to take that burden of relocating yourself with all those dynamics involved? And to do that, and if you are, if the answer to that question is yes, I'm willing to relocate regardless if a company pays for me to relocate or not, you need to start setting up appointments within that location. And another kind of tip I could give you is, I know that some employers do look at the address on your resume. That's why I say, or I tell a lot of potential candidates that it's really not necessary to put your full address on there. If they really want to know where you are located, they can go to your LinkedIn profile. Many people make that kind of neutral. They either put, the country they're in, or, the demographic area that they're in, but they may not narrow it down to a particular city and state. You can generalize that. Worst case scenario, you can get creative with it. I know people that, got P.O. boxes in the states that they wanted to relocate, so they could have a physical address or somewhat of a local address on their resume. If you have a friend's address that you can use, a family member's address, so you can at least be perceived that you're actually local. It may be a company, they're not looking at out-of-state resumes, so you want to make it look like that you're a local candidate. See if you can get a P.O. box or use a friend's address. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're reaching out to these decision makers to let them know that you're open to relocating. You do not want to be excluded because you're not local. That's something that's very important. Many decision makers may overlook someone, especially if where you're trying to locate is extremely far. A prime example is if I'm have a position for a job in Los Angeles and you're in New York and you want to get to Los Angeles, I may look at your resume and, and say, hey, this person applied for the job, but are they really serious about relocating? Let me look at some people that are currently here. That's something the company's going to do anyway. So you want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there and letting them know that you are open to relocating. And the only way you can do that is actually setting up some type of appointment where you can get a 5-minute conversation. Doesn't have to be anything lengthy. Doesn't have to be a meet and greet, which you have to sit down with this employer. This is something that you can do so you can pretty much brand yourself within those 5 minutes, let them know what your solution is and what you're willing to do to be a part of their team. And a part of that would be to relocate. Final thing you want to do is make sure that you're getting referrals, or recommendations within that area. So even though that you're not physically there, if you have ties to that particular demographic, make sure that you're leveraging that. If you have friends and family members or even people that are working for that organization right now or currently, make sure you're leveraging that. that can be to your advantage to have people that are already in the organization or associated with that industry that actually live in that area. They can be not only your sounding board, but they can be your advocate. You want to make sure that you're leveraging your contacts and your network and take those no's that you're going to get. I'm not going to say you're not going to get them. There are going to be many employers, many people in general that may tell you, hey, we're not relocating anyone. We're only accepting local candidates. I've seen it all the time on job postings. You want to use those no's to get to a yes. If you're currently not open to relocating, do you know any companies that are? Do you know any competitors? You can ask for competitors. You can ask for people within their network or someone they will recommend for you to speak with. So this is something that you want to do as well. Make sure that you are getting those referrals. Don't rely solely on the job boards. Don't rely solely on, again, applying online. You want to make sure that you're definitely building up that network. If you can get out there and actually physically be out there for a while, not saying move, but if you can spend a couple days out there, maybe attend some industry related association events, do something where you can at least put a face with a name, that's definitely or drastically going to increase your chances of being able to obtain a job out of state. I'm not the one to tell you to relocate and then look for a job later. I truly believe the best thing, which is going to be easier on you emotionally and financially, is to have a job in place first before you relocate, especially in this type of economy, because nothing's guaranteed. So you definitely want to make sure you're doing that, but you want to make sure that you're putting these in place as well as you do that. Next question is, how do you make yourself marketable? This particular question was, how do you make yourself marketable with the skills and experience you already have when seeking a career change? And if you attended my last workshop, I covered a little bit of marketing. Well, I should say I covered the entire marketing methodology on how you should position yourself in the job market. This does not change because you're looking for a different type of job or because you're changing industries or changing careers. The marketing stays the same regardless of what type of position that you're looking for. So we'll go over that again. You want to make sure that you're using the 4 P's. In some cases, it's the 5 P's, that you're positioning yourself regardless if you're making a career change or not. I like that this question had that they had the skills and experience already in place, which means that you should be emphasizing on your transferable skills. So if you know that you can market yourself, you already have some of the skills that this new job or this new career is going to require. You've been exposed to something or some of the aspects that this type of industry may need. You want to make sure that's something that you're emphasizing in your resume, in your solution letter, and you want to make sure that you're actually being something that's going to bring the organization value. The first thing you're going to do is look at the product. The product is you. The product is your service, your work ethic, your experience, your skills. What are you offering to these organizations? And one of the questions they may ask is, why are you looking to make a career change? Do you have an answer that you can, that makes sense not only to you, but sometimes connects the dots with the employer? And why are you looking outside of the industry that you may have built your entire career on? So you want to make sure that you can answer that, and then you're going to have to also answer, what can you offer to this new industry that they can't get from people that are from candidates that have been working in the industry for decades? What's going to make you competitive? Promotion. How will you get your message out? The same thing, whether you're looking for a job outside your industry or you're making a career change, this is something that's still going to be crucial. How are you going to promote these skills and these experience that you have, these transferable skills that you possess? How are you going to get that out? How are you going to make that real? What are the channels you're going to use to distribute? That's the place. So where are you going to post this? Of course, you're going to use your resume and cover letter. How are you going to design your LinkedIn account when employers go to it and see that you may be in one particular industry and you're applying to something that's totally different? How are you going to make that transition in there? So I can see that you're going to have to make some changes to that to show that you are a perfect candidate for this particular job that may be outside of your industry. Next thing, you're also going to look at your compensation. And this is going to be some homework that you're going to have to look up as well. If you're changing careers, other things change as well. Far as pay, you want to look at the compensation in that particular industry. Is it something that's going to be competitive for you? It's more than just making a career change, and it's not just about the salary. You want to look at what this particular industry is offering, what's their market rate, depending on not on your demographics, but you also have to consider your experience in education. So if you're coming in with a transferable skill, or you have experience, but you may not have the experience of someone that's been working in the industry for a decade or two, are you willing to take a pay cut? That's a realistic question that you're going to have to ask yourself. So you're going to have to look at what the market is offering for this position, and how your skill set and your education and experience align with what they're going to be able to offer you. And is this something that you're going to take? So that's something that's going to have to be realistic as well. I always tell people to do an exercise, and I've done this in past workshops as well. The quick exercise is you want to be able to describe your current marketing plan. This is listing the 5 top accomplishments that you've done with employers. These are your aha moments. What value have you brought to the organization beyond what you were hired to do? So it's beyond what was in the job description. Those are accomplishments. Those are the moments where employers really saw value in you as a person that was on their team. You also want to look at what the industry is demanding at this time. So the skills or experience that you say that you have, is this something that's demand, or something that's in demand in the industry that you're trying to transition to? Though you may have that experience or skill set, is it something that, hey, this is kind of a bonus, we really don't need it, we really need someone that has XYZ, and you don't have that? So you also have to make sure that you're going to align with the demands of the industry. That goes with your education, and that also goes with your competition. So you definitely want to take a look at people that are already in the industry and align what you can bring to the table too. So you want to see how you measure up to everyone else that's in the industry. If you see that you're falling short and you still want to make this career change, what are you going to have to do to make this realistic? Do you have to go back and get a particular on-job training or certification? Do you need a preceptorship? What are you going to have to do to get that industry exposure that's going to make you just as competitive as someone that's already in the industry? That's something that you're going to have to consider as well. You have to remember, when people do career changes, many people think this is something that happens overnight. And I'm not saying, I never say never. In some instances, depending on the industry, there are people that can, I just start applying to these jobs and, hey, I got one. That happens sometimes. And those are the stories that you hear about. But you don't hear about the stories about people that, decide to make a career change and never been able to fully convert their skill set to that new industry. And it's because of what the market demands at that time. So you also have to take a realistic approach on how you're going to go forward in here. Make sure you have some type of action plan in place, and also don't beat yourself up, because it's not going to happen overnight. This is something that takes a lot of time to do. So you have to be willing to take the time and the effort, not only to make the career change, but to make you competitive to compete with everyone that's already in the industry. And if you're willing to do that and stick it out, you definitely can make that career change. But the way you market yourself does not change. That's something that you're going to do regardless if you're looking inside your own industry or you're looking outside. And this goes about the future, the evolution, how hiring has changed. So as you can see this particular board, I'm going to actually go through this slide and let you see how hiring has changed and how this is going to affect your efforts in looking for a new job or a new career, or to make that career change. As you can see, the evolution of how we hire has changed from the 80s up until today. We had the newspapers, we had the face-to-face, now the internet comes along, and now we have the social media, we have a lot of the job boards, we have a lot of things that almost make hiring impersonal. So you want to make sure that when you're putting yourself out there, that you're considering the way people hire is totally different on how they hired 20 years ago. You may not get a face to face. You may be answering virtual questions, which we call, a recorded interview, or online interview. And I've seen a lot of companies start to go that route, that, hey, we're going to give them a couple questions, they record themselves and answer it, and we determine whether or not they go to the next step or not. That's becoming the future. So you're going to have to make sure that you're going to be able to provide a solution past some of these distractions that are out there that may prevent you from getting that face to face and getting directly to those decision makers. Technology and transparency. This is something that I've talked about in past workshops as well. 77% of full-time workers are looking for a new job or open to new career opportunities. Again, don't confuse this with people either being unemployed or dissatisfied. There's a lot of people out there that are satisfied with their position, but they're open to new opportunities. You'll be amazed how many candidates that I reach out to that are gainfully employed, but hey, if something better came along or something that intrigued them or challenged them came along, hey, they're open to hear about it, and they're open to be submitted and reviewed as a candidate. So you have to see that there's a lot of competition out there when you're either unemployed, laid off, or anything of that nature. First thing that employers do want to look at is make sure that you're transparent. Transparency is king. Technology can make you look a little bit more human, and that goes for a lot of people out here that are not online. And I understand if you work for a job for a couple of years, or you haven't been in the loop of actually looking for a job. And I've worked with candidates that, hey, I hadn't looked for a job for over 10 or 15 years. I don't know this stuff. I don't know how to use LinkedIn or a lot of these social media sites to get in front of decision makers. This is your time to actually start to learn this. Whether you can go on YouTube and look at one of those free videos, you build an account, you play with it. You're going to have to be able to get yourself online in front of decision makers, because this is where a lot of the technology is going. Resume data driven. This goes back to the ATS systems. Those are the applicant tracking systems, the parsing software that they're using to actually be able to find candidates with keywords. So employers receive hundreds, sometimes thousands of resumes a day. So when they do that, they're relying on a series of mathematical algorithms that target keyword combinations to predict whether a candidate has the ability to do the job, or how likely there are to be fit in their organization on a cultural level. So this is something that you have to consider as well. Is your resume tailored to these ATS systems? There are a lot of candidates I've worked with. There's a lot of people I've seen fall between the cracks just because they weren't using the right keywords. They weren't utilizing their LinkedIn their profiles. Because if I'm as a recruiter searching for a particular candidate and I'm using those keywords that the employer needs, maybe a keyword that requires a certification or requires a particular skill set, and you have a LinkedIn profile that's just pretty much a shell. When I mean a shell, it's pretty much your name, your company, and your title, and you really aren't putting any details in there, you're not going to come up on my search, even though you can probably do the job, if not better than the candidate I already have in place. I'll never know that because I never find you. So that's why resume-driven data, and I should say technology-driven data, is so crucial when you're out there looking for a position, because many people don't have time to go through or single-handedly go through resumes, and they're relying on technology to do this. So you definitely want to make sure that you're definitely putting that in place. This is a picture of a heat map that I actually saw online, and I wanted to share with you. And I've shared this at another workshop, and people asked about it. And this was something that they did a research on and did a survey on, and this actually was an indicator of what recruiters and HR personnel look at when they look at your resume. As you can see on this side, this is your resume, and what they look at when they look at your LinkedIn profile. And they said Recruiters spend 80% of their time on the following hot spots. And the hot spots, as you can see, are in the red, of course. So the hot spots, that's where they spend 80% of their time looking. So you're looking at up here, down here. You don't see that they're not spending a lot of time in here. They may be looking for different type of keywords that they may be looking at to make sure that you have a particular skill set. And they're looking down here primarily, either education, IT skills, any type of accomplishments that you've done. So they're saying that 80% of the time they're looking for, the first thing they look for is your name. So they're up here somewhere, as you can see. The second thing they're looking for is the current title of your company. So they're looking at your current title and your company. So they're looking over here. If you have a brief summary, I call it kind of like a career profile, things like that. So they're looking up here at the title of what you are. This person is a technology innovation executive, and they're looking at what their title is, what they do, and they're kind of taking a glimpse of what they have brought or what they're bringing to the organization. Next thing they look at is your previous titles and companies. As you can see, they're just skimming through it. They're looking at where this person worked, what they did, taking the time. They're scanning through this. They're spending more time on these areas right here that are more in the yellow/red parts. They're also looking at your end dates, start and end dates, and they're looking at current position, start and end dates in your education. On your LinkedIn profile, as you can see, they're looking at that photo. You'll be amazed how many people do not have a photo on LinkedIn. I call them shell accounts. These are accounts that, hey, just to say, hey, I'm on LinkedIn. It's really a shell. There's nothing there. They don't have a picture. They don't have anything. So what's the first thing that employers are looking at? They're looking at your name and your picture. You can see that right here. Then they're looking at your summary part. And if you don't have a summary and you have that empty, they don't have anything to do but to look at, okay, I don't see anything there. And they're going down looking at your current and past experiences. So as you can see right here, they have their current employer, their past employer. So they're taking a look at that. The fourth thing it says that they're looking at this up there. They tell you to avoid boring summaries. They're looking at to make sure the groups that you have that have branding. So they're looking at your branding. They're also looking at, people that are similar. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, they also have a list. This kind of changed, but they usually have people that were similar to you, or people that view other people that were similar to you. That shows that they look at that as well. They also look at your company logo. So if they don't look at the company, of course, the branding of the company logo, before I see Coca-Cola, I already know the Coca-Cola logo. Vice versa. I don't need to see Twitter's logo to know that it's Twitter. Or I don't have to see the words Twitter to know that it's Twitter. So they're also saying that they're looking at the logos as well. Let me go back. So this is something that you have to look at as well. When you're on LinkedIn, you want to have a photo. You want to make sure that you're uploading some type of career profile, nothing long and drawn out, something that pretty much, again, solution oriented. You're putting out what you've done, how you brought value. Like I tell it, keep it simple. Doesn't have to be long and drawn out, because I can assure you we're not going to read it. I'm not going to sit there and read 3 paragraphs. So you want to make sure it's something that's short and to the point. You want to also make sure you're utilizing those groups on LinkedIn. This is a sure way that you can get in touch with decision makers, is through your groups. I don't know how many times I have let people know you don't have to pay for what's it called? InMail. I don't even know what it is, because I don't use it. I'm actually a part of so many groups that most of the people that I communicate with, even though I'm not directly connected with them, if we're in the same group, I can send them a message. I don't know if that's changed. I have to go out there and look. But from what I've seen the last time I've used this for messages, I actually can send someone that if we have a common group together, I can actually email them, unless they have their settings set that they don't want emails from members. But most of the time, people don't change their settings as far as that concern. And most of the time, if they're going to change their email settings, that's going to be for, I don't want to get spammed about XYZ every week, or what's it called, a daily digest. So that's usually what they change their settings on. So I rarely, if ever, send any emails. I make sure that, hey, if we're in a part of the same group, I'll shoot you a message. So that's why groups on LinkedIn are very crucial and very important for you to be a part of them, because not only you networking with like-minded people, and that's if you're actually taking advantage of that feature, but you also can directly reach out to someone that, again, may be a hiring authority, maybe someone that's hiring that you can reach out to and, like I said, get that appointment that you need. So that's something that you want to look at as well. We're about 35 after, and I like to open the floor up for any questions. You can ask me anything. So this is the time I open up the floor for questions. I did not get a lot of questions submitted to me prior to the workshop, so this is why this particular session was pretty much short, but I still wanted to pack some information in there beyond the questions that were asked. So that's pretty much why it's kind of direct and to the point. So if there's any questions, please raise your hand. I can unmute your mic. You can type your question at the bottom. I'd be more than happy to answer that as well. And I will go from there. And why I see people typing, while you're typing, I'm going to go ahead and just, if you do log off before the session ends, there's a survey I like everyone to take. It's about 10 questions. It lets me know how this workshop is, tells me how to better my best, if it's anything that we need to improve on, anything that you'd like to change, anything that you'd like to cover in the future. So if you could take that survey when you log off, that'd be very much appreciated. I could tell you within the next 30 to 60 days, we're coming out with a website, or should I say a membership site, because I do get a lot of requests from our surveys about different niche workshops people want me to do. I know someone wants me to do a workshop on how to use LinkedIn, how to use the features, how to use it to market themselves. So I have a lot of topics that people want to make more so of a niche versus a Q&A session. So we're putting together, it's going to be called the Career Innovators, since we are Career Innovations. So it's going to be it's going to be called Career Innovators. And you can actually sign up and look at some of these workshops we're putting together. They're going to be on demand, though. We'll do a live one that you can attend. If you sign up for it, great. If you don't, we'll actually put the video in the on the site where you can watch it whenever you have. And we'll have the actual PDFs, because we're going to have a lot of this stuff is going to have materials to go with it. So we're going to give you very rich education on how to do this stuff. And it's not only for job seekers, and that's why I like to emphasize, it's not for only people that are looking for a job. It's for people that have a job, period, because we all know jobs nowadays don't last. I'm yet to find someone, that wasn't hired before the 80s that still are currently working in their position about to retire. You're seeing that particular generation has changed. What we're looking at in the future, people are going to have I heard that some people said up to 18 or 20 jobs in their lifetime. So this is not only for job seekers, this is for career development, so we're going to have a lot of workshops that's not going to only be talking about finding a job, but it's also going to be talk about maintaining the career that you do get. So let's go ahead and go to the questions that we have. Okay, I did have someone about LinkedIn. So how do you propose us to market ourselves on LinkedIn? When would that workshop be? Well, I'm glad that you asked that. We haven't put that together as of yet. That, again, these were topics that were sent to us through our survey. I just shot that topic out there because I remembered it. But like I said on the past slide, that to market yourself on LinkedIn, you first want to complete the profile. And that's the first step to marketing yourself. Before I can give you tips about, how to put yourself into decision makers, how to start, blogging or posting posts on LinkedIn, and how to start commenting on blogs and introducing yourself, you want to make sure that your profile's filled. And I'm seeing a lot of people do not have a full profile completed. So that's the first step. Once you do that, then you can start leveraging a lot of the resource that LinkedIn provides for you. The first thing that they change is now you're able to post, which means, that's just not left up to what they call LinkedIn influencers. You can be an influencer. LinkedIn has given you that ability now. You can write your own posts and have people follow you. But no one wants to follow a profile that's not done, or doesn't have a picture, or doesn't have what they do. So I can tell you all the things you can do with your LinkedIn profile, but I think the first workshop is going to address on how to make your profile more effective, and how to fully complete the profile in a way that it's going to market itself. People are going to be able to find you through keywords, and a lot of people aren't utilizing that. Okay, let me see if there's another question. Say your last couple slides regarding relocation. If your employer is not willing to relocate you, is it bad or unprofessional to ask if they don't put it on the table? If they don't put relocation on the table, so this question pretty much was asking about the relocation. So if you're looking for a position, they haven't offered to relocate, and maybe you didn't have that meeting of the minds to let them know either you were or were not willing to relocate yourself. That's the next step to have. So don't assume that they won't pay for it. Usually if it's a particular employer that knows that, hey, I've interviewed this person, they're coming from across the country, or they're coming from another state, usually it's offered, it's in the offer letter. But if you haven't got that far with the employer that they're offering you the job, I definitely will have it up for negotiation, which means that that's something that you need to negotiate. Don't assume the employer is just going to all of a sudden, hey, here's a relocation package. And if it is, will it be enough? Because it's relocation package, but here's $2,000. Are you able to move your entire house or your entire well-being across the country for $2,000? Probably not. So you want to make sure when you are in negotiation, and this is something that they're closing in on to make a decision, that you've already had the meeting of the minds with those employers. Don't put this off. This is something, and believe me, this is not going to be a turnoff, because if they really want you, and again, it goes back to you provided a solution that they're willing to pay for, shelling out the money to get you there is going to be nothing. That's not going to cost them anything. If you're providing a solution that's going to build their brand, save them money, or make them money, getting you there, that's going to be the last thing they're worried about. So you want to make sure that, you're not going to get the short end of the stick if they do offer you the relocation package and you just never negotiated, so you don't know what you're going to get, or is it going to be enough? So I would ask, I know the question was if they haven't offered it, I would ask to see if that's even available. And it also saves you time. Because if you're in the works of interviewing with an organization that's across the country, and you know that you're not financially able to get yourself there or get your family there, and they're not going to supply any type of relocation to get you there, where are you at in that interview? So do you get the job, and how are you going to get out there if they're not going to assist you? So you also have to be willing to make plans. If they say, hey, we were looking for local candidates and you came along, you're awesome, but we really don't have the budget to relocate you. Are you willing to pick up the slack? And this gives you time to get the resources that you need to get yourself there if you have to relocate yourself. So that's something that you definitely want to talk to the employer off. I wouldn't put it off if this is an employer that has you seriously engaged and you can see our offer coming soon. You definitely want to get serious about having that conversation. You don't want to wait till the last minute and have to back out an offer because you have no way to get there. You definitely don't want to do that. Okay, do I see any other questions? I do see some thank yous. You're welcome. Okay, I don't see any more questions. We're about a quarter till. If you have any extra questions that I have not answered, or you weren't able to type, or for some reason, hey, you answered everything and I couldn't think of anything right now, don't worry about it. Shoot me an email. I answer all my emails. You want to review the workshop? I'm going to upload this tonight. You can catch it on YouTube, forward it to your friends that may have missed out, that may have signed up and didn't attend. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn under Bridget Baggett. You can look me up. I'm pretty much the first person that's going to pop up if you type in my name. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow Career Innovations on Facebook. That keeps track of all the events that we have going on, speaking engagements, and they definitely will keep you posted on when we're going to have our membership site out. That way you can take advantage of this, regardless, if you're looking for a job or you're trying to maintain the position that you already have. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please take the survey. I want to hear your feedback. I want to see how we can better our best. Have a great night and hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.